Yeah, we'll keep those going. So thanks so much. Thanks for being a great audience today. And next up, I would really like to welcome someone who a lot of you know in our best ever ecosystem, Mr. Travis Watts.
Thank you, Garrett. Hey, everybody. Awesome. So listen, this is a bittersweet year here at Best Ever for myself. I've had the honor and privilege to host the Best Ever podcast over the last 5 years, and so I only have 10 minutes of your time here today. So what I thought I would do is go over 10 investing lessons that have reshaped my life and that can reshape your life. Obviously, educational and informational purposes only. So I started investing with Joe Fairless and Ashcroft Capital years and years ago. It's probably 2016, 2017 as a limited partner. And he gave me the honor to host his podcast starting in 2020. I launched the Actively Passive Investing Show, which was about being an active investor and a passive investor and kind of the pros and cons, the ins and outs. And then I switched over to Passive Investor Tips in 2022, and kind of sadly, the last episode is airing here this week as we conclude these episodes. So it's been over 200 podcast episodes. I appreciate all of your support over the years. And, passive income is really what drives me. It's always been what my passion is, and to help others understand the power of passive income and what it can do for you. Whether you're active and passive and whatever you're doing, I think there's a place for everybody to have a little passive income in your life. So launched a book that just dropped 2 days ago. It's here at the conference up at registration. So this really is about financial independence and lifestyle design and health and mindset. And so starting with personal finance, I was raised by two frugal parents, and they really instilled saving in me as a kid. So it was always use coupons and buy the off-brand and don't get into debt and yada, yada. Don't keep up with the Joneses. And while I really appreciate those lessons, and I do think they're important to an extent in everybody's lives, I started to realize as I grew up that I really wanted to be an investor, because your potential is limited in terms of what you could save every month, but you're unlimited in what you could earn through a business or through investment. So it was really about finding your highest and best earning potential and then leveraging the power of passive income. So in terms of financial freedom, that really became the end goal that I wanted to achieve. And the 4 pillars that ended up getting me there, that have gotten a lot of other people there, this is not the only solution to follow, but it's the one that I took, is to earn as much as you can using your highest and best earning potential. For me, that was working in the oil and gas industry for years, 100-hour work weeks and flipping homes on the side actively. That's how I started. And then to live on as little of that income as possible for a period of time, not for the rest of your life. I don't advocate living severely below your means till the day you die. It's just to get you to where you want to be and to achieve your goal. Then it's to invest the difference between what you're earning and what you're living on into something. And for me, that's always been passive income producing assets after I stopped flipping homes. And last but not least, to avoid bad debt, high interest rate debt, credit card loans, debt and stuff like that. So living on passive income, as I have now for about a decade, I created what's called the 8% rule. And, again, not financial advice for anyone else, but what this is living off your investments in terms of the passive income that they produce and not selling the golden goose. You've probably heard of the 4% rule, which has been around for decades in the stock world, which is basically amass a big portfolio of stocks, and when you need the money, you start selling it off in order to generate income. So this is quite the opposite. So let's say you need $100,000 a year in income to support your lifestyle, then I think of it like I need $1.25 million invested with, let's call it an 8% annualized yield to give you that $100,000 per year. So a totally different mindset than most people have around investing. And it begs the question, how much is enough? And this is different for everybody, but the rule of 72 is powerful. It's simple, but it's powerful. And it's how frequently you're going to double your money just solely through cash flow or passive income. It's not relying on what the future might hold in terms of appreciation or upside or what a stock might go up to or what crypto is going to do or what you're going to flip a house for. So you look at it in terms of yield. So if you want to be, let's say, very conservative and say, well, my portfolio could generate a 4% yield. I'm just going to buy a bunch of bonds or do money market or something. Well, fine. You might need $2.5 million in order to achieve that outcome of $100,000. And for me, it's been averaging 8%, as I used in the previous example. For you, it could be a totally different number. But once again, it's just thinking about investing through yield and passive income instead of trying to predict or speculate on equity upside. Now, financial freedom doesn't mean stop working. So I've been asked that a long time, year over year. If you're living on passive income, why do you continue doing things actively? Well, as a quick reminder, some of the biggest name investors in the world, you got Warren Buffett and Carl Icahn and George Soros and Peter Lynch, have continued working through their 70s, 80s, and even into their 90s. Why? Because they found something they're truly passionate about and that they love, and so they're willing to do it despite being paid or not being paid to do it, right? They're still contributing to society. So same thing in my case, might be the same thing in your case, but you don't have to have that obligation of, I'm never going back to work again, but I'm 45 years old if you happen to achieve financial independence. Now, velocity of capital is what I presented last year if you missed the event. And it's basically value add real estate investing, which I've done now over 15 years. And I took $40,000, long story short, and I kept turning it over into a property, making it nicer, newer, and better, and selling it at a profit, moving those profits into another deal, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Came up just shy of $2 million with that section of my portfolio. And velocity of capital is just simply to keep your capital moving and not to stagnate it into an asset for too long where you're maybe getting good cash flow, but you could be getting much higher results from it. So part of being a professional investor is stacking the odds in your favor. If you think about it in an analogy of a professional golfer, what sets a professional golfer apart from an amateur? It's their consistency and their predictability in every shot they take. Same thing as an investor. So there's a lot of people who speculate and confuse that with investing. So that's a big part of what I teach, how to buy on fundamentals and investments with 100-year track records so that you're not always trying to chase the new shiny object or whatever the media is telling you is coming up and what's hot in the moment. Assets versus liabilities, quick fun story to share with you. Big shout out to, of course, Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the Rich Dad Company. He instilled this in me, years and years ago, but it's have your assets pay for your liabilities. So I did this in one example of buying a car. We bought a Porsche, and I made an episode about how we did this. I invested $100,000 into a multifamily syndication. About 4 or 5 years later, it sold. We pretty much doubled our money. My wife and I paid our taxes and took a portion of the profits to buy a car in the process, which we needed anyway. We all have liabilities that we have to pay for. But the cool part about this strategy was it didn't take our net worth down. It didn't take our cash flow down. We still had that original $100,000 we started with, which got rolled into another deal, plus some extra profit on top of that we rolled. And we were able to get things that we needed anyway in our life. Health versus wealth, or health is your wealth. Your health is your greatest wealth. How about that? What Joe Fairless was talking about earlier, if you caught his keynote, is basically I've done a lot of the same things. Intermittent fasting, drinking celery juice, simplifying exercise routines for free that you can do at home or while you travel. I'm no doctor or health expert, but I had to put a chapter in here about keeping your body healthy and keeping in shape. And I like to look at these health hacks and simplify things. That's the whole point and purpose of this podcast in this book, is to simplify passive income investing and simplify your health routines. Knowing the value of your time, not a lot of people think about this, but I spent way too many years trading my time for money in very menial ways. And if I had learned how to run that math earlier, I would have realized that I'm working for maybe 10 or 15 bucks an hour and I didn't even realize it. So Our time is our biggest asset, so you want to allocate that appropriately and learn how. So I cover that through the podcast and book. And at the end of the day, to me anyway, I love teaching people about lifestyle design. What's your optimal lifestyle? How do you want to live your life? And how can you do it with passive income? My wife, son, and I, we love to travel domestically, internationally. That's our thing. So passive income helped achieve that. Yours, I'm sure, is going to be different, but there's a lot of ways you can optimize through the power of passive income. I like to say that passive income allows you to do more of what you love and less of what you don't enjoy. And the fact is, in 30 years from now, what's going to matter is what you made of your education and where it took you in life. I have to laugh. That's the power of AI right there, and it scares the crap out of me. But something to think about. I'm going to quit looking at that picture. Anyway, so books available. I'm putting 100% of the profits back to support the Best Ever community and all of you to help grow this brand. So any support you want to give is much appreciated. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate the support over the years. Thanks so much for being here.
Applause, everybody. Thank you, sir.
Hey, bud.
Wonderful.